The McLaury building was built back in 1922. And then in 2015, there was a study, what can we do to improve the condition of this building? Because the last major update was back in 1976, 1979 timeframe, so it was time to refresh the building. Now, the way that we had to do it depended on the maintenance funds that we get from the state, and so we really had to do it in 3 different phases. So the first phase was in 2017, and what we did in that phase is we replaced all the windows. The bathrooms were renovated and made ADA compliant. There was an elevator added, and we did a lot of exterior maintenance repair. And so that all happened in the first phase. When we did the second phase in 2018, the basement was done. We did the HVAC, the electrical, and the architectural art updates. We added 5 lab spaces, 1 teaching space, and then we added the offices for computer science and engineering. Phase 3 was done in 2020. The second floor and the third floor of McLaury were renovated. We updated the HVAC and electrical and architectural. We finished those updates. We added 5 classrooms. We added the offices and conference room. There was a space for the women in science and engineering was put in. The op lab was added and a student library. So we've remodeled all the classrooms. They now have glass boards instead of the chalkboards. We've added monitors so that we've got a more up-to-date experience for the students. And we've really just refreshed this and made this into a modern academic building. Has the math department been in here ever since it opened in 22?
We're the one program who stayed in the building. The engineering programs would get built big enough and they'd run out. So eventually we got squatters' rights. So it says engineering out there, but in 52 they decided that it wasn't the engineering building anymore, and they named it after Howard Lincoln McLaury because he just passed away the previous year.
Okay.
And he'd been at the campus since 1895, and for about maybe a 20-year stretch, he was the calculus instructor. Mm-hmm. So every graduate who came from this school had Professor McLaury as one of their professors. He was the fixed point on the campus. Asked any 2 random alumni, name a professor you had. They're like, oh, McLaury, because he was the guy who got them into their engineering programs. But also early on in like 1895, when the school was still largely kind of a muckraking research station that had a slapdash English program and some other things to make it there, McLaury was one of the folks who really helped kind of found the idea that there should be some real rigorous theory that went into the math, that went into the engineering, not just the empirical part of it. And so he was kind of foundational in what we kind of think of what we do at the school, is this combination of good, solid theory, but also hands-on, practical, get your hands dirty in what you're doing.
There's a way to set the experience and set the stage, and we want to do that through artwork. We want to have artwork set the idea and encapsulate the vision and sort of emotions that are involved in working in a STEM area. So one of our plans is to try to encourage and engage our alumni to donate to having an art installation here. We would like to get Dick Termes or John Lopez to build something. One of the ideas I thought would be kind of fun, is if we can get John Lopez, like he assembles his horses out of old car parts, how about assemble a piece of art out of old computer parts or old circuitry and build some artwork? Because we have these great open areas that we can have, a thermosphere or a large item that Lopez may come up with, or Dale Lamphere. Mm-hmm. We have good local South Dakota artists, and to engage them and see what's the emotional experience of being involved in a technology area, and how can we connect to the community.
Here on the 3rd floor, again, we've got more class space, offices at the ends. This is the student study room. So this is, what this ends up being is actually kind of the focal place for math majors. They hang out here. This is in a non-pandemic year. This is usually buzzing with activity with those students who set up their own sort of study groups. Small organizations will meet there. The math club meets in there, and you find just scribbles all over the walls. Sure. The entire room has just been designed as a mark on the wall space. Yeah. So it's a fantastic spot here. Right here we have the op lab. It's a nice change from, say, our old labs, which were in smaller cloistered spaces that maybe had one main slate on the front. Now they're bigger open spaces, smaller machines, so a little bit more ability to use the space that we've got for it.
I think this building is probably the starting point of almost every alum we have here. Because I think like in fall of '74, so I've had 3 calc classes in here, 2 semesters of differential equations, a semester of linear algebra. And so, you know, that's a big part of my career has been in this building. And I think that everybody that starts, you know, that calculus sequence, everybody comes through here. And so,
yeah, all paths lead through McLaury at some point here.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, one of the things I love is on the stairs, the marble has you can just see the wear from the footsteps over a century of use. And that's something that he and I really ask, you know, don't get rid of those stairs. And, you know, if we can keep anything, keep that, because that gives us a real sense of our past. And we saved the marble that was down around the base. We're using that now with the foundation, and they're going to be able to make use of that as gifts and other things. So we'll have that sort of historical aspect. So that'll be fun. You know.
Well, I think you mentioned that we've had a lot of fledgling engineering programs that started in here and then moved out as they got too big. So computer engineering is one that we've actually moved back in.
Yes.
Yes. It's kind of fun, that sort of circularity that we've had. Because I think we had civil engineering up here until maybe the 70s, was that? Or was it a little earlier?
I don't know when civil was in here. I don't know that one. Sorry.
So the reason I mention that is during the renovation, I was a student or one of our instructors brought a piece of paper to me, which was a civil engineering homework assignment that had slipped in a crack or something, had fallen off and was in the wall. So when they took out the wall, I guess the person who was doing it just set it on a table next to it, and someone picked it up, and I had it, and I sent it over to Jim Stone. But you know, the pencil was faded, so it was 60. Maybe as late as the 70s, but very early work, and you could barely see the, you know, the calculations and the derivatives and things on it. It was an interesting piece of history.
Well, I think even if we have some of the dates and names wrong, we've got a lot of alumni that are going to be watching this that hopefully they'll send us a note and let us know what the correct history should be.
Right. I'm missing an assignment.
Give me that assignment.
My work is complete.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the student lab, the robotics lab, unmanned aerial systems lab, and the 3D print lab. We've just moved in the 3D print club. So this is under construction. So we expect that starting fall, we're going to have a mature lab for students use in their projects. So for the different teams, so the robotics team and unmanned aerial systems teams can develop their systems here. 3D print will be at the back area, and they're going to set up all their printers. One of the things we do with 3D printers is they can't have them in the dorms. So we've given them a space to have their wall of printers, and then they can interact with robotics, because that's really their major client. They do a lot of printing for robotics. There's another room. So unlike any computer science program in the world, we actually do stuff with our hands. So this is the second part of the robotics team space. So the space in that you just saw, that space was for programming, system development, system integration, project management, meetings. This is where we actually build stuff. And so in this space, they will do the PC board workup, they'll populate the boards, they'll do all the low-level system testing, they can fabricate. We have chop saws, band saws on the other side. We have, here's a router and process. So in this room, we'll have a laser cutter, a full-scale router. Everything we need to do to manufacture any drone, any robot, we can build from ground up in this lab. So this is the thing I'm pretty excited about. Roy Hoffman, who was a graduate of School of Mines, he graduated with his bachelor's in, I think it was 58 or 59, and then he got his master's in 61. He came back to us and worked with Brad Johnson and had some money that he wanted to donate to the school. So he's given us, the first installment was $150,000, and then there was another $25K gift. That $150,000 has come to the department to build out 4 different labs. The first lab will be this one, the Digital Systems Lab, and we're going to we'll populate it fully with benches that will have the signal processing stuff that I talked about. So the oscilloscopes and logic analyzers will go in here. Well, there they are. Brand new, state-of-the-art digital mixed signal scopes and equipment. So we're really excited about it. This will become the lab I was telling you about. The exciting thing about that lab is that we will have a unique sequence in the country, which will be a hardware-software co-design. So our students will be able to come in. In the first class, they're going to learn how to write assembly, but then the next class, they'll learn how to design a digital system, really flesh out a CPU. So we'll be able to do an ARM9 core. We'll be able to do that complete design and put it into an FPGA, and really do a digital systems analysis of it. Write the operating system, write the peripherals, write the UARTs, all of that, and then write the software go on top of it. And if we have a complete sequence, we have a faculty member, Larry Payette, who's doing the textbooks for it. His assembly language textbook has been adopted by Princeton. He's been contracted by Pearson to write a sequence of textbooks. So we see this whole sequence that's going to evolve into a specialization that we think will be of really national quality. We're very excited about it.
As I walk through the halls now, it's kind of like a 100-year-old building that's shiny new right now. Kind of get a little bit of the old and a little bit of the new, and as we go forward. And
it's a beautiful building and a really nice, so if folks who are coming to look, if they want to go to the museum, they're looking at campus, they'll stumble in here, look around, and we're really quite proud of this, what Geraldine's done in this new space.
Yeah, it's a good starting point for just the campus. It's from the road, it's one of the first things that you go and see, and it's kind of a nice contrast because you have this sort of stately McLaury right here, and then you have kind of a sort of a more modern Surbeck Student Center. Angle your head a little bit here, but as a starting point too, it's a good sort of metaphorical starting point because most of the students are going to spend their time in here for at least the first year or so before they branch out. So being able to go and have some things in the building, in the foyer, in this first floor, as students come in just to sort of look around, that kind of gives an idea of what the history of the place is and what the future of the place is it's this nice connection between our past and what it is that we kind of want to go and do.
Changing the topic a little bit, so we're filming this or talking here towards the end of the spring semester of 2021, and you opened this in August of 2020. Right in the middle of the pandemic. And so you didn't have any classes in here in the fall, and you've only got a couple classes in here in the spring semester. So most of the activity has been prospective students and tours. And
yeah,
what are their thoughts as you bring them through this building?
For a lot of the parents, it's relief that the classrooms look like what they expect a STEM school to look like. Last year and the years before, the building had a very old world, old school feel to it. Slate blackboards, the blackboards on all of the walls. And so when you would walk into these, it had a very kind of austere academic look to it, which, ex-artist, I happen to like drawing on slate. But when you've got schools who've grown up in classrooms where you have Promethean boards, where you've got a lot of wireless technology, it looked antiquated and old. So right now when students are going through, it's this shiny space. They're seeing modular desks. They see this sort of whiteboard on all the different sides of the room, which means it's very, you can write on all of the walls. You can kind of move around. Two of the classrooms in this building have smart monitors so that the professors can go and have sort of live, sort of mobile demonstrations along with the work that's happening there. But when the prospective students and their parents are walking through, it looks kind of mint out of the box right now. This sort of pristine space that looks like a class where you would be doing cutting edge kind of work.
I hear we have a new elevator in this building.
We do have an elevator.
Tell me about that.
It's an elevator that works, and that is in some sense a slight improvement over Willy Wonka's glass elevator that used to be out in the front that would, in summer, sometimes expand too much and would get stuck in the glass midway through.
I get a call from Seth or one of our students and say, I'm stuck, and we'd have to rush out and rescue him. So yes, so this is pretty nice.
It's made. It makes. One is it makes the building, ADA compliant, which is, good for our students, but also it makes it easier for to just lug machinery around from place to place. So it's actually made it far easier to kind of move around in the building when you're doing something other than just, walking to your office or back again.
Right.
So I hope you enjoyed that tour. We had a chance to look around the new McLaury and all the new renovated spaces. You got to chance to hear from our department head, Travis Kowalski, and our department head, Jeff Magoo, on how it's impacted their faculty and their staff and students. And so it really is a great modern facility, even though it is 100 years old. And so we encourage you, come to campus, come see what it looks like, get a feeling of what the new McLaury is.